through thick and thin. Despite Luka's bitterness, Gran was right. He needed to hash things out with Rollo. A big fight changes the nature of a friendship. Whether, in the end, it is for the better or for the worse, all comes down to understanding. If one is not careful, the same familiarity that builds the strongest of bonds can become the wrecking ball that shatters them. Luka emerged from seclusion, taking in the crisp festival air. But the events of the day weren't on his mind. He had to find Rollo. Roxy rolled her eyes, shaking her head. Luka looked down and kicked at the dirt. Mr. Kerr pointed to his grinning mouth. Jeff was staring into the distance with a wistful look. Jeff turned to Luka with a furrowed brow, then gave an understanding nod. For a moment, the two now shared that same wistful gaze. Kato's eyes lit with excitement. Kato straightened up and cleared his throat as if preparing to sing. Kato stared at Luka eagerly. Luka grabbed Natural Photography, Volume 5, from the shelf. Luka grabbed The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue number 5, from the shelf. Luka grabbed The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue number 4, from the shelf. Luka grabbed The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue number 5, from the shelf. Kato removed his book from the desk and replaced it with Luka's, turning on the lamp. As he slid the book under the purple light, 2 words glowed: The Adventures of Hank Atomic, issue 5. Luka clicked his tongue with recognition. Kato began flipping through the pages, stopping when he hit a glowing word. He continued flipping. Reaching the end of the book, Kato looked up. Before Luka could finish his sentence, Griffin handed him a corn dog. Luka shrugged, taking a sizable bite out of the corn dog. Luka tongued at his cheeks, feeling something rough between his teeth. He reached into his mouth and pulled out a slip of paper. He shook off the bits of corn dog to read the slip. Luka finished off the remainder of the corn dog. Lumi waved his hands around sarcastically as he began. Rollo sheepishly handed Luka the balloons. Luka threw himself at Rollo, hugging him as tightly as he could. Chapter 4. Our harvest awaits. Luka took a deep breath and gingerly opened the door, steeling himself for Gran's wrath. Luka was alone. The house was empty. Luka was sitting by the pond, listening to small waves lap against a rock. His father sat in a folding chair in front of him. Without turning, he spoke. "Why don't you grab me some nice bait?" "Sure thing, Dad." Luka hopped over to the tackle box and popped open the lid. Inside was a rolling, buzzing mass. "We're fishing with bees?" Luka's father gave a warm chuckle. "Well, you catch more fish with bees than honey. Pick us out a good one." Luka closed his eyes and plucked out a bee. He could feel its wings struggle between his finger and thumb. Holding it at arm's length, he hurried over. His father deftly baited the hook and examined his work. "Interesting choice." With a practiced flick of the wrist, the line buzzed in a graceful arc. The water accepted it without a splash or ripple. "The wrong choice, but I respect it." The pond began to freeze over. "Sometimes we gotta make the wrong choice before we can make it right." Pallid ice propagated across the still surface with an alarming speed. Luka scrambled back as the ground beneath him turned cold. "Dad, I don't understand." "Sorry, kiddo. Understanding isn't always part of the deal." The relentless ice shot through the fishing line toward his father. "Dad, look out!" His father casually wound the reel. "None of it's your fault, you know. Never was." "Dad, we have to go!" Luka grabbed his father's shoulders, trying to pull him away. "Please, you have to run!" The ice crackled as it spread across his father's hands. "That's the thing about fishing, Luka." His chest began to crystallize. "You toss your hook in, and you never know what you're gonna pull out." A shock of searing cold ran up Luka's arms. He gave one last desperate tug. The chair tipped backwards in a single frozen mass. Luka tried to stop the momentum, but it was too late. He watched the icy form of his father slam into the hard ground, shattering into 1,000 pieces that crowded around his feet. "Dad, I don't understand. What does all this mean?" The gentle rustle of leaves was the only reply. Luka's eyes struggled to focus on the walkie-talkie. Faintly, he could hear Rollo amongst the noise. Rollo's voice was coming through more clearly now, but some words were still just static. The signal went silent. Luka held still, waiting for a response, his pounding heartbeat marking the passage of time. Rollo's voice began to fade. With that, the signal died for good. Luka grabbed the walkie-talkie and sprinted to the treehouse. Luka heard a group of footsteps approaching. He dashed behind the bushes to avoid being spotted. Mr. Tolliver paused, shifting his eyes to one side. Mr. Tolliver took one long, quiet breath. The three shared a determined look. The two boys shared a mischievous grin. Luka could only see a cloaked shape behind the rocket. He strained to hear as a muffled voice began. Fear gripped Luka's throat. Luka stared at the ground for a moment, trying to place the dampened voice. The figure shifted slowly from behind the rocket, revealing itself to Luka. Luka reached over empathetically. Iggy's tone jolted to dejected anger. Luka slumped to the ground, overwhelmed by guilt. Iggy slumped to his knees. Luka grabbed the walkie-talkie and headed for the window. Luka and Iggy climbed up the back of the treehouse to its roof, where Rollo had constructed his MCDC, the Mission Control Defense Cannon. From behind the crowd of clipboards, William Kerr strode forward, a warm smile on his face. Kerr's smile faltered. Luka's grip tightened on the MCDC. Luka's mind raced. He was caught in a trap. What do you do when there's no hope? Iggy wiped his cheeks with a sleeve. What are you gonna do, Luka? Luka drew himself up and decided to take the only option they had left. Fight. He swung the Mission Control Defense Cannon around, aiming it confidently at the smirking face of William Kerr. Luka summoned his most insolent demeanor. Kerr turned his back on the two boys. With a nonchalant wave of the hand, he made his exit. As the clipboards began to slowly advance on the treehouse, Luka looked to Iggy with resignation in his eyes. The end. That escalated quickly. Maybe discretion was the better part of valor here.